Ravens play the Bengals this Sunday in a must-win game, and it's expected to be the coldest game in Ravens history. We'll talk about how that weather could impact the game. We'll go over both teams' final injury reports and talk about what the Ravens need to do to come away with a win in this one, as well as some bold predictions and score predictions. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Before we get into the game preview, I promised a members giveaway, so let's spin that wheel and see who wins the $50. And congrats to Ed Wolfenden. Just drop a comment with some way for me to pay you, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, however, I got all those options. If YouTube's deleting your payment comment, just email me. My email's in the description, or reach out on X or something. We'll find some way to get in contact with each other. I've been able to give away every member giveaway. There is some resistance with YouTube deleting comments sometimes, but we'll figure it out. But congrats, man. Appreciate all you guys for supporting. Appreciate all the members. I think over about half the members now have got a giveaway, so nobody's repeated yet, but that's sick, man. I'm just basically giving all the money that you guys give me in the memberships back to you guys. So there's been a few of you guys that have already paid for almost a year of memberships just back from a giveaway. So appreciate you guys, man, so much. And let's get into this game preview. We'll start with the Ravens injury report, and the only guys that have an injury designation is Rashad Bateman, Tavius Robinson, and Ardarius Washington. Now, Tavius Robinson and Ardarius Washington have been out for a while. They both will need to be activated from the practice squad tomorrow, so look out for that if they're going to play on Sunday. Rashad Bateman is truly questionable. He was a limited participant on Thursday with that ankle injury and then downgraded to a DNP today, so definitely one to watch there with Bateman. And for the Bengals, they will be without T. Higgins, who is out with a concussion. Also doubtful is safety PJ Jules and rookie Shamar Stewart. Ravens are currently favored by 2.5 on the road in this one. The over-under is 51.5 for the game. And this game is going to be cold. It is going to be around 10 degrees with a wind chill of -4, which, if that stands, this would make the coldest game in Ravens history. The 2012 playoff game in Denver was 13 degrees with a 2-degree wind chill. And then in 22, a home game versus Atlanta, it was 17 degrees with also a 2-degree wind chill. But this one is supposed to be a -4 wind chill and the game around 10 degrees. That type of temperature definitely impacts the game, and it might not be as high scoring as that over-under is. Who knows? Maybe it ends up being a shootout like it usually is against the Bengals, but I don't know, man. That is frigid temperatures, and everybody's going to be a little tighter, a little slower. It's going to be harder to kick. There's going to be potentially more fumbles. It just is not easy to play in that type of cold weather. And I really think you could throw the other Bengals game out the window that we just played. I know it seems like it makes sense to look back. We just played the team 2 weeks ago. Let's look back at that game and how it went to make predictions for this game. But the Ravens had 5 turnovers in that game, and it was cold, definitely cold. I was there. It was like 30 degrees, but this is going to be 20 degrees plus colder. That is a big difference, man. And I just feel like on the road in those types of temperatures, you know, the last game we had 5 turnovers. I'm just not expecting a similar type of game. I think the Ravens need to go in this one with a clean slate and run the ball. And I say that every week. We should always lean on the run, but this game is more important. I mean, we need to establish the run in this game. It is going to be hard to have some consistent downfield attack. Wind gusts are supposed to be a little higher in this game as well. It's going to be hard to throw consistently. I'm not saying it's impossible to throw, but you want to lean on the run a little bit more. So I think it needs to be another heavy Henry game. Keaton Mitchell's good to go in this game. Let's continue to feed him, get him out to the edge. And I also wouldn't be shocked to see Lamar Jackson run a little bit more in this one. He is getting more and more healthy, and he hasn't looked terrible running the football. I mean, I don't think he's that hobbled. It's just more of a re-injury risk and pain management. But I definitely think Lamar is mobile, and there were multiple opportunities. I talked about it in the postgame episode last week and throughout this week in that Steelers game where if Lamar would have just kept it and hit the edge, they were crashing so hard on Derrick Henry that Lamar had a wide open field, and he started to do that a few times in the second half. But I would not be shocked to see a little more of that. That keeps the defense on their toes more than anything. I mean, Lamar running is a superpower for this this offense, and we haven't seen as much of it. And I really would like to get that read option going, man. I just think that you can't make the defense not be able to crash down on Henry, and then also get Keaton to the edge, have some quick passes mixed in there. I think that the Ravens offense should be able to move the ball on this Bengals defense. This is a Bengals defense that has struggled. 2 weeks ago, I'm throwing that game out the window, man. I just don't see us having 5 turnovers. I don't see Isaiah Likely fumbling the ball as he's jumping into the end zone. A push-off call on Zay Flowers. There's so many things that could have turned that other game around, and just looking at us getting blown out by the Bengals is not really a fair comparison for how this game is going to go. I expect the Ravens to play a much cleaner game, and I think the keys for the Ravens offense to have success in this game is leaning in on the run game again, also holding on to the ball. Let's play a clean game. Can we not have any turnovers? When the Ravens don't turn the ball over, they usually win the game, and that's how it is for most teams. If you win the turnover battle, you win the game. Our defense has not been forcing turnovers these past few weeks. Our offense is turning the ball over, especially in that Cincinnati game with 5 of them. So hold on to the ball, man. Let's play a clean game and get this run game going. And in a cold game like this, I really think it's more important than ever to just sustain drives. Wear this defense out, especially if we're running the ball with Derrick Henry. They are not going to want to hit Derrick Henry in these types of temperatures. But let's get into some 3rd and shorts and open up the playbook. Let's make sure we get these first downs and just continue to churn first downs and move down the field. I think it is more important than ever to possess the ball and play a clean game. That is going to be the success in this game, is the Ravens not turning the ball over and converting on 3rd downs, and also converting in the red zone. If we do get into the red zone, we got to put up 7. That has been something we've struggled with this entire year, and part of that is definitely because our offensive line has not been getting the same amount of push, not opening the same amount of running holes. Henry's getting hit in the backfield. We're getting stuffed a lot of times when we get down near the goal line, and we're not able to run with the same success that we used to consistently. But there's no better time to start finishing some drives than when the season's on the line. We got 4 games left, and we control our own destiny if we win out. So let's start fixing some of those things. They're not uncorrectable. You can increase your 3rd down percentage. You can increase your red zone efficiency. These are things that the Ravens need to dial in on and make sure that they are overcoming in a game like this. Play a clean game, hold on to the ball, get the run game going, convert on 3rd down, finish in the red zone. These are simple keys to winning football games that the Ravens will have a lot of success in this game and moving forward if they can do more consistently. Now, switching over to the Ravens defense versus the Bengals offense, they're going to be without T. Higgins again, which I think it makes it easier to game plan and cover these guys. Not easy. They have a great offense. Burrow's great. Chase is great. They protected really, really well the last game, but when you can double team Chase consistently and don't have to worry about T. Higgins on the other side, it does make it a little bit easier. So I think the game plan has to be the same, even though Chase went for 100 yards on us the last time we played. And Chase definitely had his moments. I think the Ravens can rotate the safety over and play him a little tighter. But overall, I think they managed to contain it enough. The Ravens offense just had 5 turnovers. You're not going to win many games with that. But the Ravens defense needs to continue to double team Chase and find a way to generate pressure. They went max protection the last game to help out their tackles, and we weren't able to get home at all. So if they're doing that again, I don't know what their game plan is, but if they're doing that again, I think the Ravens need to run more stunts to get pressure from the inside. Blitz some more linebackers, blitz Kyle Hamilton more and send him towards the quarterback. I just think they're going to have to figure out ways to generate pressure, because if they're max protecting, especially on the edge, you're probably not getting home that way. Then you need to stunt inside and get more pressure from the inside. So we'll see what their game plan is. I don't know if they're going to max protect again, but that did work for them the last time we played, and we were not able to generate much pressure at all. So that needs to be better. The Ravens need to generate pressure, stop the run as always, which we did a good job of 2 weeks ago. And for the most part this season, the Ravens have been able to contain the run. Earlier we had some struggles, but the Ravens usually can stop the run, and it is going to be more important than ever in a game like this. Not that the Bengals have a potent rushing attack, but if it's really going to be this cold, this is the type of game I want Burrow dropping back, throwing 45 times, and then becoming very one-dimensional, especially without another option like T. Higgins out there. It just should be a lot easier to game plan for. If the Ravens stop the run, double-team Chase, and get some interior pressure on Joe Burrow, I think they'll have a lot of success, and also force a turnover. In a cold game like this is a perfect opportunity to punch a ball out. Let's get a fumble recovery, forced fumble and recovery. We had one 2 weeks ago at the very end of the game. Travis Jones got one, but we need one or two of those. You know, an interception would be nice too, but I'm just saying let's get a forced turnover from this defense. We haven't seen much of that in the past few weeks, and the defense was getting hot there, forcing a lot of turnovers against some of the bad teams, and then we hit our division games, and we haven't been seeing as much, but it can really flip the game, man. We need to make sure that we are punching the ball out as often as possible, and then on the other side of the ball, like we talked about earlier, holding on to the ball. I also think special teams is going to be a big factor in this game. It is going to be harder to kick. It's going to be harder to return punts, and that ball could be moving if the wind's swirling. The ball's also going to be harder than usual with it being so cold. We need to have a clean and smart special teams day. If that ball's moving around like crazy in the air and, you know, the Wester's in a bad position, let it go. If it's too far of a field goal and it's unlikely that we're going to make it because it's too cold, let's go for it, you know, or punt and pin them if the defense is playing well. Like, play smart, you know, make sure that you are not having a fumble or special teams errors that are going to bleed into this game and ruin this game. I'm not expecting that. I'm just saying it's something to call out with it being so cold. But let's dive into a score prediction. I think that this one could be a little bit different than your usual Ravens-Bengals, and that's mainly because of the temperature. Maybe I'm reading too much into the temperature, but that's cold, man. That is a cold game. That is going to be maybe the coldest Ravens game ever, and I think that matters. So I got this being a little bit lower scoring than a usual Ravens-Bengals matchup, but I do have the Ravens winning this one with their backs against the wall and the season still on the line. I got the Ravens winning this one 27-20. I think they get their run game going again. They had their run game going last week. We ran for 217 rushing yards on Pittsburgh. I think the Bengals defense is more vulnerable than that. So I think we keep the run game going with Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, and Lamar Jackson in this one, and the Ravens hold on to the ball, don't have any turnovers, and I predict that they will force 2 turnovers on defense, 1 interception and 1 forced fumble from Kyle Hamilton. That's what I'm going with. That's my bold predictions and score predictions, 27-20. But let me know what you guys are thinking about this game, about how cold it's going to be, about the rest of the season. What's your score predictions, bold predictions for this one? Let me know what you're thinking. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Go Ravens, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. Podcast, the Flock Rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better